Well, hello. That was epic. Uh, Welcome, everybody. My name is Tara. I am the co-founder of D&D in a Castle, and I'm very excited that we are sitting here with some of our epic dungeon masters for our upcoming summer round of D&D in a Castle USA, stateside for the first time since we began D&D in a Castle. So very excited to be all together here and to answer all of your questions. Tell everybody here on the World Wide Web all about D&D in a Castle and what these amazing people have planned for their players this summer. Before we begin, or the very first thing we're going to do to begin, is introduce all of these lovely people. And also we have some exciting announcements about who all these people are and what they're doing at the castle. And in particular, I want to introduce our dungeon master for our hardcore mode table at D&D in a Castle. It's not Jayden King. He just popped up at the top of the screen. It is, in fact, the lovely Beth the Bard.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Beth the Bard.
Oh my God.
So Beth the Bard is going to be running our hardcore mode. Hardcore mode is something we introduced at D&D in a Castle. Our games at D&D in a Castle last for a total of 24 hours in some, or often longer, across the course of the 4-day retreat. And we introduced hardcore mode because we had many requests for more D&D. So hardcore mode is more D&D. It's more intense D&D. It often incorporates some exciting elements that really test the boundaries of what a D&D game can be, as well as lasting 50% longer. So instead of 8 hours a day, you play 12 hours a day, and sometimes even more than that. So for those who just want more D&D, that's hardcore mode. So I'd like to introduce Beth the Bard and have her introduce herself and let us know what she has planned for her table this upcoming round of D&D in a Castle.
Cool. So I wrote it down so I wouldn't stumble over this. So yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Beth the Bard. I wrote She is the Ancient, a gender bent Curse of Strahd. It is a gender bent Curse of Strahd. That's what I'm going to be running for hardcore mode. And also I'm a therapeutic dungeon master and an educator. I actually specialize in working with neurodivergent players and teaching people how to be game masters, personally, professionally, and how to do TTRPG writing and stuff through my website, TTRPG University. And for hardcore mode, I'm super excited. Everyone at my table is going to craft a Dark Lord of their own domain. And the story essentially is you were defeated as the Dark Lord, and you are all now together as defeated Dark Lords in Barovia, and you're going to have to go after Countess Strahd and then definitely something else. And that is all I'm going to say because I don't know how much is too much, so...
Amazing. And hardcore mode at this round is almost full. So there are 6 players per table, and there were 5 of the spots were already taken. So if you want to get in on Beth the Bard's game, I recommend acting quickly because there is 1 spot left for that particular game. The next person I'm going to bring up is currently in the dark and is going to emerge as I say his name, and that is B-Dave Walter.
It is me. You hear that? That is the dozens and dozens of my friends cheering. That's what that was. Yeah. Hello. Hi.
So BJ, introduce yourself.
I hit something. My mic went wonky. Oh yes, B-Dave Walters. I do that. I'm Matic. Let me see. I think the last time I was there was my 5th trip and 10th round at D&D Castle, I think. So I've done a few of these now. And I will be coming there in August. Well, it's funny because I have quite a number of events with D&D in a Castle this year. I've been very fortunate to do so. So I start to lose track of all the times I'm there. But this time what we're talking about is August, level 20, high level, all over the world planes shenanigans, high-powered, high emotion consequences. You'll laugh, you'll cry, your tears strengthen me. But you will have an unforgettable time.
Awesome. Amazing. And next on my screen is Joseph Limbaugh, who is returning to D&D in a Castle in August to run a 4-day campaign for his lovely guests. So introduce yourself, Joseph, and tell us who you are, what you do, and what you've got planned for D&D in a Castle this August.
Hey, everybody. I'm Joseph Limbaugh. I'm an improv teacher and improv director. I've been doing that for decades. My focus is on narrative improvisation. So a lot of what I do at the table is create a story, a compelling story with whatever you're bringing. So I like to craft, my adventure to the players. I do have ideas because sometimes people just show up and they're like, what should we do? That's fine. But also if you have like something that you want me to run, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I'm one of the lead developers of Blackbirds. I'm an actor. You can see me on some TV shows. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. My games are generally very fun and free flowing, and I like to make sure that everybody is included and has a good time. That's my goal. If everybody has fun, we have succeeded.
Hear, hear. Huzzah to that. Yes, we get that feedback from actually one of our most recent staff members at D&D Castle was actually a player of Joseph's at the last round and had really wonderful things to say about her experience there and encourages everyone to sign up at Joseph's table. And the next person I'm going to introduce is someone who's returning to D&D Castle after several years of absence, and we're very excited to have him back, which is the great Xander Jeanneret. So welcome, Xander. Introduce yourself.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, the last time that I was at D&D in a Castle was at Lumley Castle, and that was in 2019. So I'm excited to do the US-based castle this August. I'm going to be bringing a similar flavor of adventure for this one. I am a DM online and an actor. You may have seen me and with B. Dave in Vampire the Masquerade, most recently LA by Night and New York by Night. I also do a lot of work over at Pixel Circus, where I most recently did the campaign for the Floral Dragons book that was released. So that's sort of my shtick, is like almost in direct opposite of the hardcore mode. We're having fun, and we're going to tell a fun story with best friends all together. But I'm definitely in on the role play. That's where I find the fun, and I feel like that's where my tables sort of get into it as well. One of my favorite things is absorbing some of the backstories that you've created for your characters and fusing them into the worlds that I already have prepared and to create a really tailored experience. But for this run, I like to go and investigate the original creators of some of the classic spells you can find in Dungeons & Dragons, even if I'm just making it up on my own. But I have the eccentric wizard Zelly Songwind, who has left an abandoned castle that the players are going to be summoned to explore and possibly go through portals to other worlds that Zelly Songwind visited while creating the color spray spell. And so it's ultimately creating color spray, the most useful spell.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you say the opposite of hardcore, but I think we didn't actually record times of play, but I think Xander maybe competing for the record of the longest games run at D&D in a Castle. I think on the last night, I think we had to
run to the
airport and say, Xander, you're going to miss your plane. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. We got to wrap up let's get to the end here because it was until you can't play anymore. Oh shit! I've been disconnected. Nope, I'm still live. I disappeared for a second.
We lost a few packets there.
I don't know what happened there.
It was too intense. Too much D&D.
If you want to do like all night role playing, Xander is gonna laugh till dawn at Xander's table. It was a great time. We are recording your questions. I've seen that some questions are coming in the chat. We're gonna get to them in just a moment. So definitely put question at the top of something I've been doing. Maybe you've remembered from before. We will answer some of those questions. They might be directed to the DMs. They might be directed to me. So we'll field those in a second. But I have another announcement to make before we move to those questions, and that is that there are D&D in a Castle this August. The DMs we have with us now are the DMs that are attending the first round, which is August 11th to 15th. We then have a second round of D&D in a Castle that already has 4 DMs in that event, offering games, 1 hardcore mode game and 3 other campaigns. And we are announcing tonight that 2 of our DMs from this round, who are here in the room right now, are going to be staying for a second round of D&D in a Castle to give even more people the opportunity to play at their tables. Those 2 teachers and Beth the Bard. So that's very exciting. And yay! So if you wanted to play with Beth, but maybe weren't quite thinking about hardcore mode, or there's more than one in your party, so you won't fit at the hardcore mode table, you're going to have another opportunity to play with Beth the Bard. And B-Day's table recently sold out, and so we wanted to give more people the chance to play at his table as well. And so we will be opening those options to sign up for them in the subsequent round, August 18 to 22nd. Very shortly. And if you want to get in on that, you can either just register for that round and we will connect you with, or you can our newsletter, which we will link to tomorrow, a private link to be able to sign up to their tables. So that is our second announcement that we teased earlier this week on social media and in our newsletter. And so congratulations, exciting welcome to the second castle to Beth and B-Dave. So that is your special announcement. Beth and B-Dave, do you want to say anything about staying for a second round? No.
It's gonna be fun. More D&D.
More D&D in a castle. Yay!
This is D&D in a castler. You know, two D, 2 castle. Yeah. It's a great time. And what I find especially is we run into things where sometimes whole entire groups want to come or couples want to come, and sometimes there is an uneven number and people really want to do it and can't quite. So it's great that now there's going to be an opportunity to get in on the action. So, you know, come join us.
Awesome. And we have one more DM who's coming to this round that we did not introduce just yet. And that's because we saved the best for last. And the royalty of the castle in his crown is the great Jayden King, who will be gracing us with his epic roleplay and gaming prowess at D&D in a Castle August 11th.
Yeah. Hi. It's Jayden King. I do all kinds of things TTRPG related. I am the co-creator of TTRPG University with my partner and girlfriend Beth the Bard, educating people on all things D&D to help people who have trouble with the resources, from mechanics, role playing, being a dungeon master, down to being a player, to making content for stuff, all in kinds of that, as well as being a coach on production, streams, all kinds of things. I pretty much help everyone in the community navigate those tools and resources. But most of all, people know me as the anime D&D guy, which is exactly what I'm going to be bringing to the castle. I bring urban fantasy to D&D in the most grand ways. If you like Dragon Ball, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, or other anime that bring that intensity, I bring that to every game with high-level play where you are not only breaking realms, you are breaking the fabric of multiverses. I've had enemies as intense as Broly from Dragon Ball type energy. I've had Gojo show up in these encounters, and I've had a shinobi war involving individuals like Madara Uchiha in D&D. So if you want to see if you stack the chips against Ultra Instinct Goku, or perhaps you want to see if you can get those Sage path going against Naruto, or you want to go classics and see if you can beat the half-demon Inuyasha, but in an urban setting with cars, technology, and your cell phone to bring your spells, that's what Downtown Dragons is all about. You're just another person living in a city with magic and technology, but just like anime, the next day can be the biggest of your life. You could be heroes, or you could even be the villains.
Ooh, collective.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I'm in. I want to play. I change it. I'm coming to your table.
I'm honored.
I know, we all want to just play at each other's tables. These all sound like amazing campaigns. We've had a couple of questions I do want to address. A couple of them one about the castle itself, and one of them about becoming a DM at D&D in a Castle. Regarding the castles, we're always interested in hearing about new venues. This particular castle is in the US. In the UK, we operate at Lumley Castle at the moment. And in the US, we were operating at Mohican Castle, which is on the edge of the Mohican Forest, Mohican National Park. So it's going to be like a beautiful elven castle setting. Lumley Castle is a genuine medieval castle that saw action in the Wars of the Roses. It has, 7-foot stone walls and, dungeons and arches and, has a very weighty kind of medieval feeling. So they're going to be quite different in terms of their feeling. In terms of how we choose our castles, we choose ones that have great gaming spaces where every table can have their own private gaming space. That's a really key element of D&D in a castle, is that everyone is in their own room. There's no sound bleed, there's no interruption. And at least at Lumley, those castles have, 6-foot stone walls, so there's not a lot of sound bleed most of the time. In Mohican Castle, they will be spaced out around the venue. So everybody will be in their own gaming space. And so finding castles that have that ability to have private spaces, enough private spaces for each gaming table to have their own, is really important to us, and a place and accommodation on site, that the castle is also residential, whether a hotel or something with the residential options. That is, a luxury vacation for people, as it is ultimately a vacation. And even though it's kind of like summer camp, it's like summer camp with like room service, so we want people to have a nice, comfortable, luxurious time while also, fighting dragons in the wilderness. So, in their imaginations, and make them comfortable. So if anyone's aware of other castles, we often get that. Have you looked at this castle? Have you looked at that castle? We're always open to seeing and hearing about other castles. We certainly have scoured an awful lot of castles. I tend to know all the castles in the UK, in the US, even across Europe. I have personally visited a lot of them and spent a lot of time exploring them, but there are still some I'm always learning. So feel free to email us those, contact@dindianacastle.com if you have suggestions. And then for becoming a DM at D&D in a Castle, we do have a form on our website, dindianacastle.com. You can go on there and click Dungeon Masters and click Apply to be a Dungeon Master, or recommend a Dungeon Master. If you know somebody that you think we should be aware of and you think would be a great fit for us, you can always go on there and fill those out. So the other question, what's your favorite monster? This is from Lauren Brady Sellers. Hello, Lauren. Lauren is a repeat guest. This spring, Lauren and Quinn, her husband, were 5-time visitors. They did their 5th D&D in a Castle. So this often happens that people come to D&D in a Castle for a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and then they just keep coming back because it's so much fun. And we love Lauren and Quinn. So her question is, what's your favorite monster or weirdest one you've played or encountered? So jump on in it. Fight each other for the opportunity to speak here. Go.
Yeah, well, I recently did a campaign for a group called D20 at Sea, which is a cruise ship that had D&D going as well. But they were unaware, and I played this against them, that shambling mounds actually heal from lightning damage. And so that's just a PSA that I'm going to give to players from now on, because they kept shooting it with lightning and I just kept healing it. And it was so great. And I'm like, I'm using a shambling mound forever now. It's great.
Yes, way to twist the reality. Very good. Very good.
My sweet queen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's her. A girl.
Which head though?
The Tiamat reminds me in hardcore mode in the fall when Mike Tinney was running it. He had the different people play the heads of Tiamat. So there were different NPCs. He brought in other DMs and staff and NPCs to come into the room, and each one had its own stats, and they had to fight all of them at the same time as individual monsters connected by one Tiamat. So that made me think of that as a novel thing that certainly happened in hardcore mode that was done maybe for the first time at D&D in a Castle. Maybe others have done it before, but he certainly introduced that to our guests. I have another question from Chili Draws. What resources do the DMs prefer players use for character creation? So I'll just give a precursor that players are connected in what we call our online tavern. You meet in a tavern with your party and your DMs about 2 months before the event, and that's where you will get any any character creation guidelines before the event, and you'll build your character with your DM. And there's sort of a back and forth that happens there. Generally, the DM tells you, you can have this many magic items, this is the level, blah, blah, blah. They give you their parameters, you build your character, and you also share your backstories with your DM, and often your DM then sort of customizes the campaign around that. So that's how that happens in the context of D&D in a castle. Everything is D&D, but there's variation in usually it's 5e, but sometimes people introduce elements or things from other editions as well. And I will just say one plug while I'm on here, which is in the fall, we're introducing for the first time Chronicle mode, which will be playing every major edition of D&D. So there will be each day, the 6 days for over 2 rounds. So you have to go to both rounds back to back, and there will be a different edition, the same adventure played in a different edition, 6 different editions. So it's like a tour through the history and development of D&D through the ages. So in that particular case, you will have to remake your character every day almost. So, but I'll turn it over to the DMs and ask them their favored approaches to character creation. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, D&D Beyond has become an amazing resource. With D&D Beyond, I can connect all of my players, have them be able to use my tools and things like that to create their characters. And then, like I had mentioned before, I like to utilize their backstories. In game, while I'm running it, I can check their different characteristics that they've put on. So I always recommend people have D&D Beyond for sure.
I also utilize D&D Beyond because I am a malevolent game master when I run in my anime style, because I have them do D&D and Beyond, and just before we get started, I go through each of their character sheets on D&D Beyond, and I make changes to their character sheet without telling them, because I didn't even know that. I go in, I change spells, I may add a feature, I may alter a stat just here or there, I'll add equipment and move things around. Wow. So as they're playing, they'll notice things are off. Or maybe there won't at first.
You're an evil DM.
I very much so am. I make
seem
very
to really
small
like it,
adjustments. It's because they never know who's pulling the strings, and just like anime, there's some BBG who's doing the they got their glasses and they're like, oh Moody, I gotta make sure they know.
Love it. I have a couple of questions here. I see one that someone is asking about ages for D&D in a castle. We do ask if you have anyone under 18 that you'd like to attend D&D in a castle with us, just send us an email. We do create youth tables. Sometimes we create them in response to demand. So if somebody wants to bring younger players, we will create a table that they can register at, and so that everybody at that table knows there's going to be youth at that table. It is just like an adult table, but it's just fair to the other people that are, are coming on their vacation, that they don't show up and there's a 14-year-old at their table, or a 15-year-old, that there's a young person there they weren't expecting, and that we want to avoid that. So just that everybody knows there will be young people at this table, and that we create that table specifically for them. So if that's a thing that you are interested in, just send us an email and we will help get that set up for you. The other question that I've got here is to talk through the booking process. So I will just take a minute, because it is a multi-step process depending on how you want to register. So for D&D in a castle, we try to break it into chunks, firstly to help break up the payments, and also so you can customize your experience as much as you want to. So the main thing is to register. So the registration is per person, and that covers all of your meals. It covers your participation in the game. It covers all of the activities. It gives you access to the shuttle. It's everything about being a registered guest of D&D in a castle. You're now in once you register for the event. And then you choose your accommodation, and you can add that later if you want, or you can add it at the same time that you sign up. Your accommodation is your room, and that is priced per room. So if 2 of you are coming together and are sharing a room, you only get the room once, and then you can share that, as long as it's a room that accommodates 2. And there are some rooms that accommodate more. If you're a family or a small group, you can be in the same room. So you only buy the room unless you're buying a shared room, like a bed in a shared room, we do have that option. If people don't mind sharing with another guest that they don't know, we've created that option to try to bring the price down a little bit if people are willing to have a roommate. And then the third part is totally optional, which is to reserve a seat in a specific campaign. So if you want to play with a specific dungeon master, you can specifically reserve a seat in that campaign, or you can not do that and let us choose for you. And that means 2 months before, when we connect you in the online tavern, we will assign you to a table according to space. And we will always try to keep groups together, but it's always subject to space at those tables. So all our dungeon masters are amazing, and you're going to have an amazing campaign no matter which one you go to. But if you really want one, you can reserve a seat at their specific table. So that's how it works. And you can do those second and third options of accommodation and seat reservations at any time. To reserve your spot at the castle, it's registration that books you a spot and reserves your place at the table. And it is only in the US, it's only 36 seats per castle. So if you know you want to go, definitely book that spot, and then we can help you figure out the rest of it. And you can always online book a call with our concierge to help you talk you through and answer all of your questions. And there's a live chat on the website as well you can go to and ask all your questions. And it's real life people. It's real life people on the other end of that live chat that are answering your questions. And they're people who've been to D&D in a Castle, or who are organizers and staff of D&D in a Castle, and they know their way around the event very much. And it's not a bot, it's a real person. So yes. So how soon will it be possible to book my second round in August? Oh, this is
for me.
That's from you. I'm confused.
That's for me.
Both the rounds. Yes. So if you want to come and book with B-Dave in the second round, that will be made public on Monday. But if you book for the event, we will hook you up before that. Yes.
Sorry, but hey, now everybody knows. There you go.
Be pleased to hear I can talk to a human. Yes, it will be a real person. Yes. So another question that we have: what happens if you pay but then don't get on the group or the DM's play style, things like that? So if you have specific requests, you can just email us and say, I really don't like combat that much. I really am more into role play, or, I just want to slay dragons all day. Who should I go with? We will help you pick the DM, and we will always try to get you with a DM that matches, and we will consult with you. As I say, there's only 36 people per round. It's really one-on-one customer service. We will help make sure your game is everything you want it to be, and we want everyone to have a great time and really enjoy their vacation. So we will make sure that you get a game master that you like. But all the game masters also have write-ups on our website. So if you go to Dungeon Masters, there's a write-up about each of them, what their game style is like, what they're into, what they're known for. And actually, let's do that right now. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask you guys to say, what do you bring to the table that maybe makes you an exciting Dungeon Master for some people, but may give some people an idea that it wouldn't be the game for them. But, what makes your table really special, and what kind of player would be excited about playing at your table? So I'm going to start with Jayden. We're going to go backwards this time. I mean, you gave us quite a lot. And you can share, what's your table like? What does it feel like around your table?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I'm replaying, and each table, they always come in living their best life as their player characters. They meet each other bound by some truth. I mean, I usually they start from level 3 to 5, and they can go as high as 14. The highest group reached level 17. So we do a lot of level jumping to reach higher level play and more dramatic encounters. And the boss fights are pretty intense. I do swarms. I also do colossal rules. I also have realm-breaking fights. I've had people fight like giant titans. I've had people fight elder gods. So it's a little bit of everything. It's a little grimdark in a hope punk circumstance. Like, things get a little dire because, well, you're the heroes. At least you can be if you survive. I don't do too much combat. I think it's a lot of deep emotional experience. One thing that anime always gave me was you dig into the true, not political issues, but social issues dealing with society and pushing the envelope and going against poor judgment, bad leadership, or overall just negative viewpoints of the world and having to be the only ones who see the opportunity for something great. So if you're trying to fight against bad corporations, people who are trying to push down or oppress magic, technology, or other people, this is the story for you to push those limits and make changes in a world that feels a little alive. It is an urban fantasy, so there's tech involved, and it's all been mechanically built in and balanced in there. So that would probably be I don't know if that answers the question enough or at all, but that's the overview of it. We're exploring anime.
Awesome. Xander, how about you? What kind of game do you run? What kind of people do you think would have a good time at your table?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I find a lot of the fun in the role play, and so I really get into NPCs that can bounce off of the party and get into back and forth with you. One of the mechanics that I bring from my home games that I love is to really make it cinematic. And so if you are casting a spell or you're doing one of your character's abilities, often I will prompt in the beginning. It'll take some prompting, but then players do it voluntarily. I'll ask, what does that look like for your character specifically? Give me a description of what it looks like when you cast magic missile. What do the beams look like? Where does it come from? And it almost in like an anime fashion, because that's where I'm coming from. People tend to really get into describing what their individual brand of magic looks like. Similarly, when we are creating characters, one of the things that I like to do is give them the option to have any level of legendary magical item that they want. But with the caveat, when they use it, we'll have a flashback in game of how that character came to possess that magic item. And that also lets the other characters in on some of their backstory. And we get to go on a little shortcut during combat, which I often use to drive the story rather than just combat for combat's sake.
Cool. I also know your games feature a lot of laughing. I think
Yeah.
this is common.
That's the thing. It's like we take it seriously and it's dramatic when it's dramatic, but most of the time we're just having a good time. And I'm going to make little quips. So if that sounds like fun for you, we also welcome humor and quips and lightheartedness at the table.
Wonderful. Joseph, what's your table like?
You know, I asked this last round, I asked my players, like, why did you choose me? Like, why did you end up at my table? And pretty much all of them said, you seem like a really easygoing guy and that this table will be a safe and fun place to play. So that, I think, is the main thing. I mean, because of my improv experience, you know, I was trained by a guy called Keith Johnstone. And there's like, for me, improv isn't just about being goofy and like making people laugh. It's about having an engaging story. And really, improv is about creating a safe place where you can do risky things. You know, that's there should be a kind of a guardrail, but you should still be able to do risky things and head off into a dangerous place. So, you know, that idea of narrative, of knowing that in order for there to be a story, you need for someone to say, yes, I'm going to go down into the scary basement. Someone has to say yes to that. And I'll giving the players a space with each other and with the world that they're interacting with where they can say yes. And they want to, go down into the scary basement, even though it might, it might be scary. Right. So I think that's the main thing. There's a lot of laughing as well. I like a nice balance between laughter and, maybe scary stuff. I think, both of those things are important to me. So I would say that's the main thing. I'm easygoing. I'm a lot of fun to play with. I like doing characters. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah. B Dave, tell us about your game style. What kind of who would want to come to your table, Mr. Walters?
I've been blessed and fortuitous to do a lot of this, so there's quite a bit of game tape out there on me of how it goes. I would say the number one thing that I find amazing about D&D and the Castle, this is consistently proved to be true, because again, I've done a bunch of these. So many of the storytellers bring such different experiences, but I find that the right players end up at the right tables every time. I mean, I've witnessed literally hundreds of players come through with my own eyes, and I personally am aware of exactly one person that had to switch tables, and up to that, everybody's had a good time. So I think if you're familiar with a person's work or like their vibe, I mean, check your gut. You're almost certainly gonna have a good time. For me, my games are big, they are cinematic, they are high level. I don't think you need to worry too much about you don't have a ton of experience. There's lots of people. I have been the very first person they ever played with. I just did an event here in Burbank where I taught 80 people how to play in real time. I've had lots of people whose first ever game was one of my level one. Oh yeah, man. I posted pictures of it.
Oh man.
We're just gonna do what it does. So yeah, I will say, a lot of times I hear people are sometimes intimidated by the idea of level 20. They're like, ooh, that's so hard. It's not. It's actually really easy. The game is its most lethal at like level 1 through 3, where you have like 6 hit points. And you can get crit by a goblin, get killed, and no one has any spells to help you or resurrect. That's when the game is hard. By level 20, you're dropping meteor swarms and stuff, and it's like beautiful and fighting gods. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. Yeah. I will say that though, the one thing I am always looking for is to make sure everybody has an opportunity to feel like an absolute rock star, though. I think that's what brings people to the table, and that's why we play these games in a way that video games will never place. So making sure that everyone gets a chance to shine and feel important and like their contribution matters is definitely something I'm always looking to drive home.
Yeah, and I think that's a key thing that we look for in Dungeon Masters is that you guys have touched on it in various ways, you know, the safety, the inclusion, the giving everybody that opportunity, the balance is a big part of that. Beth, I want to hear from you as well about what kind of players. I think there was a video of one of your players, Marcel, saying, if you like players not fun, then don't go to Beth's table. Otherwise, you should play with Beth.
He was a delightful player. He's actually an example of every once in a while I'll get a player at my table that seems like very traditional, like, okay, I'm gonna be like this paladin and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna like slay the dragon and stuff. And everyone else is there like more familiar with me and knows that my whole thing is like emotional trauma and like my big thing that I'm known for really running with a lot is like Neverland style stories where it's like we're dealing with childhood trauma and we got to take down the adults and things like that. And so like Marcel, for example, comes to my table very like traditional, and it was so delightful seeing him get into it, and he got so excited because I am super about the rule of cool. And I'll do things like that. We'll be in the heat of combat or something, and they'll really want to do this thing. And it makes sense to the story. It makes sense to the scene. It would be cool as hell, but it like they do not have the ability. And so I'll be like, give me a 3rd level spell slot. Like, just give me, like, suffer a little bit. Give me the energy and then tell me how you do this. Like, we'll make it happen. And so that's like one thing that I've been told is really appreciated at my table is that like we can just it's always balanced, but like we don't have to follow things exactly. Another thing is that my stuff is really player focused, so like you don't have to have a backstory. As long as I got backstories for most of the players, I'm good. But the story itself, I have a baseline of what's happening, and then every single thing is built on the player characters' backstories. And even going through the game, the amount of improv, I realized I was always like, I'm not good at improv. I think I am, because like all my games are super heavy on improv. Like I literally, the last day of this last round, I remember talking to the castle, the D&D and castle staff, and I was like, I don't know what they're going to be fighting in the last battle. I have no idea. This depends on a few choices they make. And so I had set up like 5 different situations, I was grabbing like all these possible BBGs. I was like, it could be Tiamat, it could be Tasha, it could be this. Like I had no clue. And then like we finally got to it, and I was like, okay, everybody, I need you to go away for an hour so I can set up the table for this last part. So yeah, it's really personalized. It's really open. I do like to get in with the feels and things like that. There's a lot of safety tools implemented because I go into really kind of difficult emotional stuff, but only what everybody has totally consented to and is okay with. And then we try to balance it out with being real goofy as well, because yeah, what's a little like Strahd without a little what we do in the shadows, you know?
Yeah.
So
I got a question, and it sort of ties into a couple things that have been touched on a bit, which is at D&D in a castle, you know, individuals come, they book their DM, or we assign them to a table, and, you know, they've had some time to meet with their DMs, create their backstories, start getting things rolling in the digital tavern, but still it's sometimes six total strangers. And how do you address that? And some of them may have some neurodivergency in the mix. They don't know each other. They're all drawn to the same dungeon master. You know, they're all interested in D&D. They're all committed enough to do this with their vacation. So, but they are, you know, how do you handle that? And how do you make sure that everyone has a good time and has the game of a lifetime in that circumstance?
Could I interject one thing? I don't think Jayden got to say who comes to his table. Did you? I don't think you did.
He went first.
You did?
He went first.
Oh,
yeah, I went first.
All right. Sorry. I was so captivated by everything else. Sorry.
Who'd like to address that question?
Repeat the question. I
There
got
we-
distracted by B-Dave's delightful voice. Drew all my attention.
Has drawn us away to a magical land. The question
We all
is,
get hypnotized.
strangers coming to your table, there may be lots of different things in the mix, totally different people, sometimes neurodivergency among one or more of the players, and you want to hit the ground running and go straight into an amazing game that allows everyone to shine, that has that balance where everyone feels welcome and everyone feels like they're having an amazing game. How do you do that?
So I will say, and it's only because my players have told me each time that my introduction to our game makes it seamless. I almost start every single game I've ever ran with a flashback that they all partake in. More so that they each get their own individual moment to find their comfort. The most recent one in April, I specifically had the players tell me what it's like to wake up Friday morning at 9 a.m. What is your character doing? How do they wake up? Do they drink coffee? Or are they at the store? Or are they already at work? And I go at 9:15, the next character. And so I slowly take my time at the first session to get the characters to figure out who they're playing moment by moment by moment, so they feel the most comfortable who their everyday life is. And then the inciting incident brings them together. So by the time everything's kind of kicking off, they're like, oh, I usually hang out at my job because I get there at 6 a.m. I went on my morning jog. I get my coffee from my favorite coffee shop. And I notate all those details because those become the staples for those characters. And I think it's a really good exercise to help them figure out what they are interested in doing, knowing if they want to be a player who's like, oh yeah, I went to the battlefield and I was at the gym working out. And I'm like, oh, so you're a physically driven character. That's what they want. And I think it's because it helps the player slowly get into the character's mindset, to get into the environment and feel like they're playing not a character, but becoming a person in a world. And it helps also see if someone's pacing. If someone is kind of hesitant, nervous, or doesn't want to speak a lot, then I notice their scenes tend to be shorter at the beginning. And so I can work with that, knowing that. And then there's the other side where one player's like, yeah, so this is my detail. And I could tell they're a forever GM and this is their chance to finally be a player. And I think that moment lets us all see who each other are and kind of get that. So when we come together, the tone's already been set. The stage has been built together, where everyone starts off shining, so they feel like they're already champions in their own story that we're bringing together. And so, yeah, that's my model for every game, one-shot campaign or otherwise.
Love it.
I
That's a really cool tip.
find I always start mine in medias res, which I always say wrong. I'm from Arkansas. I'm not even supposed to know Latin. In that I have an inciting incident that you've already said yes to. Either the gods have already plucked you up and everyone is confused and no one knows what's going on, or a call has gone out to heroes that you already said yes to. So a lot of times the introductions will be, tell me who you are, tell me what you look like, in similar to what Jayden was saying. A lot of times it'll be like, tell me how you died, because that tends to get people's attention. I kind of had to abandon that because people aren't expecting it. I've did it too many times in charity games. But it will be things like, where did you go to sleep last night? is a good one, because that gives you a lot of insight. Because a lot of times people still say very similar things. I'm still caked in blood from battle and I collapsed from exhaustion, and someone else is, under a pile of cute guys that I met in town, and like all of these things again are giving me some idea who they are, but it gives people a rolling start to be like, you've already said yes to this. You tell me why you said yes to this. And if you haven't said yes to this, I will very much lean into the confusion of that. Spoiler alert for those of you that are playing here with me in August, it is going to start with you not remembering how you got where you went. But it gives people, I find, a little bit of room when it's like, where characters confused too. So let's just see where this goes. And the thing that people will hear me say a lot at the table, especially with the level 20 stuff, so I'll be like, look, so you got a lot of options on the character sheet. There's no wrong answers. Don't worry about it. Similar to what Beth was saying earlier, when they're like, well, can I do this? And it's, well, that's not exactly how it works, but you tell me what it is you're trying to accomplish. Because a lot of times it'll be things like, can I don't know, reanimate this tree and make it come to life. That's a bad example because that's actually possible. But let's just say that the person doesn't have the spell, and I'm like, well, no. But what are you trying to accomplish? Well, what I'm trying to accomplish is transportation. You want to travel a little faster. Okay, well then, blah 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 blah. But yeah, that rolling start I find helps people a whole lot, because when you give them a prompt, it's not just like it's harder to freeze when it's not, hey, how are you? It's like, what would you like to eat right now? Or even, what did you eat last night? So.
Steal them, London.
Thanks.
Do it. Steal them all.
Yes, I see
Always.
questions from London in the chat. Yes, definitely. Permitted stealing.
Always.
Beth, I want to hear your answer to this question as well. And then I've got a few more quick fire questions for you guys before we wrap up.
So I can't remember the exact wording on the question. My apologies.
The question is, yes, go ahead.
So bringing like the group together and everything, I think is like the main point, and making everybody feel comfortable and stuff like that. So I actually put a lot of focus and emphasis on the players getting comfortable with each other before getting comfortable with each other's characters. So I always like to do at least a couple meetings, like before we get to the castle, we're filling out our stuff, and getting things sorted, and I'm getting information and connection ideas to them before, like all before we ever get there. And I think it helps them feel a little immediately more comfortable, but then constantly fostering that connection between them as players throughout the trip itself, I feel like is really important. We create like a group WhatsApp type thing. We're sending gifts to each other outside of sessions, and then as far as like character stuff, I do I forgot a thing to mention earlier on that. I do custom oil paintings for every single one of my PCs, and we get them framed and we put them on the table, and so everybody can see each other's characters, along with like and it helps with the immersion. They can it really helps with like the role play, so then I'm totally forgetting what I'm talking about. From the neurodivergent angle, because I saw a question in there on that, there's the meeting ahead of time, keeping them connected to each other. All that is super, super important. The safety tools are really important. Honestly, like constantly checking in at the end of every session. Stars and wishes. What did you like? What do you want to see more? Line of communications are open. If you're ever feeling uncomfortable with anything, you can talk to me. We should be able to talk to each other, that kind of thing. So setting up that stuff. And honestly, it is a lot of classroom management. My background is classroom education. And I did a lot of like kindergarten, first grade, preschool, like those really young ages, right? And I have 4 children. So a lot of it comes down to feeling out the space, feeling out the tension, the emotions, determining the needs of different players coming in. Like we got one over here that has a lot of anxiety when they go into try and choose what to do on their turn. So when it comes to their turn, okay, double check their character sheet. Here are some suggestions for things you could do. You do whatever you want, but like throw some options out. Then they're feeling more comfortable, more confident. They go in, chop the head off the dragon. Things like that. And then freedom of movement is a really, really big one. I want everybody to feel totally good getting up, jumping around, stimming. Stimming is a really big one that I'm like, we're all going to be like, we're all going to be real chill with whatever weird stuff we got to do to like keep ourselves regulated and stuff. Open bathroom policy. If you got to leave and walk out for a little bit, come back in. I think that those things make all the difference in the world. Yeah, that's what I got to say.
Also,
Thanks.
just to jump off of that too, in some people's experience, it is difficult to make friends, even to be put in the situation at the friendly local gaming store where you meet someone to form a D&D group with. And so this is sort of a chance to meet somebody maybe outside of your circle, outside of your state or country where you live. And you at least have that one thing that'll bond you together of going through this experience, and you have D&D to fall back to talk about.
Yeah, I think part of the vision and the dream of D&D in a Castle, and one of the things that makes that intangible magic, that's what we describe it as internally, the intangible magic, is the way that you're there as a character and you're participating in a structured way that removes a lot of social anxiety, because there's a DM who's in charge. You don't have to be in charge. And I think that's a big part of what actually puts people at ease, is there's a structure, there's a process, there's a way forward, and through that, you're able to actually relax and you're able to just participate as yourself and be included. And the inclusiveness of the D&D in a Castle community is something that is a huge part of that magic. And it really is such an inclusive, chill, awesome community. I mean, you come for the D&D, you come for the celebs like we got here on the screen, but what you stay for is the magical community that you find when you get there. B-Dave, you had something you wanted to add to this? You have your hand up.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, my dear.
I need your voice.
It's not a stream. That happens. Yes. Hello. Hi, Jayden. Hello.
Yes.
I would just say that also add to the table. Yeah, I know we're short on time. I just want to add to this. If you're nervous about potentially coming alone, please don't be. I promise you will find your tribe. Like, there are people there that will make you feel cool. You can engage however much or however little you want, but you will not feel awkward or out of place. Well, I mean, I can't guarantee how you feel inside, but environmentally, you'll have every opportunity to hang out with cool people.
I want to just add on to that, because my first round ever that I ran, that group of players then made their own D&D group, and they have been running an ongoing weekly campaign since. And I occasionally jump in as a player to that game every so often. And most of them have come back to the castle over different tables to then make more friends that they're in more campaigns with. So they went from people who were like, I don't know how to play with people, I want to make friends, and they have made a close-knit community of people they met at the castle that have ongoing campaigns and are like the closest of friends. Like, they even at this point are having moments where they're just confiding in each other, and I'm in those group chats. Like, they are somehow best of friends, like talking about their life events and things. And honestly, I think that's one of the best parts about the castle, is it's not just an experience you get while you're there. You leave with an evolved life of friends, community, and like, it is so empowering, because I have made more friends through this as well. And I like the number of people who are just like friends with me because of the castle. That is probably the biggest value that comes out of this. The community doesn't just grow, it becomes stronger and bonded together.
So true. So true.
I've absolutely had that experience too. Yeah, I got people that have they just became gaming group, they became friends. Like, they send me pictures of like hanging out and going to concerts and stuff together. Yep.
Yeah.
Same exact. Yes.
So I have a couple of quick fire questions for you guys. I've got sort of 5 things I'd like you guys to touch on. There are 5 of you, so you can finish each other's sentences, but feel free to claim one as it comes up. So the first thing is, what makes it different playing D&D at D&D in a Castle? What's different about the game in that format, about the fact that you're in this setting and that you have 3 solid days, really 4 if you count the first day as well, all together with nothing. I've got Xander and Joseph. Okay, you can both have this one. Let's jump in.
I just want to say really quick, it's like there's no distractions. You're at the table, you go, you eat, you sleep, you come back, and you know what happened. It's in the real world, we have a session, and then maybe 3 weeks later, we're able to schedule another session. You got to remember what happens. It's kind of like it's the equivalent of binging a TV show, but you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, so you're connected to the story from moment to moment, and just the whole environment, like, it synergizes and makes everything great. Like you walk out, everything's beautiful. You can see all these medieval vistas, and it just makes everything better. The place you're playing, all of that just kind of pluses everything.
Amazing.
Immersion and intensity.
Yeah, the immersion.
Yeah, I want to just like my biggest thing is when I play games at home, I was almost exclusively a virtual GM until like relatively recently. And the biggest thing is I always have to be like, oh, tomorrow I have to either go to work or tomorrow I got to clean my house. When you're there, you don't have to worry about life. You get to just be a D&D player. I don't have to worry about, I have to go to the kitchen and cook and then clean my dishes and so on. You get to just be the player and live that for a few days, and honestly, yes.
Awesome. We talked a bit about the community, so we talked about that a little bit. But who goes to D&D in a castle? Who are these people? Who comes to D&D in a castle? Anybody want to tell the world who these players are that come? Are they? Where do they come from? Who are they?
It's people from all different walks of life, and a lot of the time it's the only time that they get to carve out for themselves, like Jayden was mentioning, that they can play D&D in an undistracted environment. And so you tend to meet people in spheres like outside of your career or where you would normally hang out, that sort of a thing. But also I've had it where there are groups that come together. There are a couple of people that share a table at home and they want to bring those characters along and put them into a new environment. I was really lucky that my players really clicked before they were even coming to the castle, and they decided amongst themselves they all wanted to be bards and to be a traveling band. And they told me, and I was like, okay, we're going with it. But it's everybody from different walks of life that are able to sort of go on this adventure with you.
Yeah, like I've had people who are like forever DMs, and they're like, I finally get a chance to play.
Yeah.
One of the groups was actually a group of people where they all played, but one of them was a GM, and they're like, I get to play, and I get to play alongside my friends instead of exclusively running for them. And then there's other people who are like, I just want an experience that I can live that's bigger. And I think it's just people who want to play D&D in a free space, because the castle's more comfortable than maybe going to your game shop all the time and so on. I think it's just people who want to play at a new level of comfort.
Cool. Love those answers. And what I was going to say, one of the questions is, who are the DMs? So here's my question. Who would you play with if you were a player at D&D in a castle? That's maybe putting you on the spot. But what kind of game would you go for as a player if you were playing a D&D in a castle?
I'm gonna say
Trick question. I have played with
BJ.
almost everybody.
I know.
Thank you guys. Love it, you guys.
Good.
No. That's it.
I play with Beth a lot, so like I'm spoiled. But I like high level play. I need to play. I don't get to do the Capstone Paladin stuff very often. So if there's a chance to be a Capstone Paladin or a Capstone Ever, I'm there for it. It's the only chance to feel like I can punch a mountain, because that's what I do casually. But I always run games like that. So I'm like, B-Dave runs my game. So like I need to be at his table for that to work.
I got you, Doug. I'll come up with mechanics for Hollow Purple. We'll get there.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I need. Red Bull,
I
let's do
mentioned it before, but I'm a hardcore weeb, so everything Jayden was saying, I was like, I need to be at that table. Like, I grew up loving Naruto. I've always wanted to do like a Naruto TTRPG, and like I feel like that's the place to do it.
I would want to play with anybody who's a DM at D&D in a castle. We get to hang out in between these sessions.
That's true.
Someone said you're all lovely people. Everyone is lovely. That's why everybody is here. I just think everybody is such a good host, and they're all good improvisers. Everyone is. Like, they're fun to play with. That's why they're here, and they'll make it fun for you. Yeah.
That is like the perfect answer, honestly. I think everybody says to a degree, like, I make the game the players want to play. That's what everybody says. They have their angles, they have the things that they like to do, they have the things that, the types of things they like to incorporate, the worlds they like to be in, the pillars they more tend towards. But honestly, what I think it all comes down to is that all of our DMs are there to give the players the game they want. So I think you're always going to get kind of an uncrunchy, chill game that is super fun and is made for you to have a good time in, and that everybody gets to have their moment in and feel part of. I mentioned earlier something we call the intangible magic of being at D&D in a castle. Can any of you have I think you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. Do any of you want to have a stab at describing that, or what that looks like or feels like at D&D in a castle?
Staying so late in the game that you almost miss your flight home.
I'm going to talk about Beth's table because she's my girlfriend, but also Beth's table.
You're just trying to get brownie points.
Yeah, I am. But also, Beth's table has this special thing that I think is what makes the castle so beautiful. Beth's table has this level of cathartic experience where every player has talked about they're crying at the end of how beautiful the story is. If you've ever seen a beautiful musical at the end, you're crying and you don't even realize you're crying until it's flowing out of you and everyone's hugging, and everyone at the end of Beth's games, the magic is they're not friends anymore. They're family. And I've never seen connections as strong as what Beth makes. And I think that's the intangible magic. Even my table at the end, they're the best friends, but Beth creates families at her table. And I think it's because the immersion of creating art for you to see, to make you feel the emotional connection of the characters and to feel a childlike freedom. And that's what it is for me, is Beth reminds you what it's like to have been a kid, to live that freedom without the stress and end a game knowing that you can then continue to be an adult with that memory as if it was real.
Wow, wonderfully said.
It's very sweet, honey. Very sweet. Mm-hmm.
No, it's true. The crying at the end is that's real. That's legit. Everybody cries at the end. That's a thing that happens all over the place. And
it's the best.
I describe D&D in a castle as do you remember when you were a kid and you had this dream? Because we all did. I don't have to know that you did to know that you did. You remember how you used to have this dream when you were a kid that one day when you grew up, you're going to get a big house and all your friends are going to move into it. And then you were all going to hang out there. And if you were a nerd, and we all play D&D there. So, and that is what it is. It actually happens. And you just have to register. That's all you have to do to have the dream come true. So it's just there. You just come and join it, and it's pre-made. But that is the magic. You leave there feeling like summer camp when your heart broke. If anybody ever went to summer camp and then you left at the end of the summer camp, how your heart broke. That's what we do. Because it's all you can think about is, how do I get back to the castle? I just need to be back there again. I need my people and my family and my home and where I belong. And that's the magic as I see it.
It's advanced make-believe.
Very. And the magic of play.
Advanced make-believe.
It's true.
Yeah. And we let ourselves do that as grown-ups. And there's space for it to really let yourself go into that experience. Well, we're coming to the close of our hour. We actually passed the hour, but I want to give you each a chance to sum up and let people know where they can find you, where they can find your projects. This is your chance to share your work with the people and invite them, give them a last invitation to join you at your table, and find you on the webs and in all the places. So this time, I'm going to start randomly with Joseph on the opposite side of the screen from me.
All right. Well, you can find me at Overdroid in most of the social medias. And I do design games. You can go to postcardgames.com. My latest game is Postcard Carcosa. I make games on postcards. You can go check that out and sign up for the Kickstarter for when it launches. And also, I teach improv to lawyers at Improv for Trial. If you're a lawyer and you want to learn improv, that would be the place to do it. So I think that's most of my things.
B. Dave, you're next.
B. Dave Walters. You can find me all over the interwebs, wherever fine streaming content be located. I do all kinds of stuff, so just follow me at B. Dave Walters. I'm most active on Twitter. Also, my DMs are open, so if you have questions about this, storytelling, DM, and any of that, just hit me up. And yeah, come to the castle. It is an experience, and I guarantee you won't forget it.
Nice face. Dramatic.
He's gone.
Wow.
Oh, where did he go?
It's like he just threw down a smoke pot and disappeared. Wow.
Xander, you're next.
Yeah, you can find me on my personal channel and everywhere at Xanderific. That's with 2 R's and
I froze.
can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. You can find me everywhere at Xanderific with 2 R's and 1 F. On my personal stream on Twitch, on Mondays, I do Ace Attorney. Tuesdays, we're doing Zelda. We're playing through all of the games, and we're up to Minish Cap right now. And then on Wednesday, I do a creative writing workshop where I invite you as the chat to come and brainstorm with me, and we have 10-minute sprints where you work on whatever projects you want to work on. So it's a co-working thing. You come, bring whatever you're working on, and we can work together. And then also I wanted to mention I've been producing over at Pixel Circus. We're having a big Renaissance Festival stream on the 25th. So that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So if you want to bring your own Renaissance gear at home and digitally join us, that'll be over there.
Awesome. Jayden.
It's Jayden King. You can find me on all social media at It's Jayden King, except TikTok. I am Jayden King. Cough, cough. Beth. I do all kinds of things TTRPG related. I am a consultant on mechanics, game design, storytelling as a professional entertainer, actor, writer. I do deep mechanics. I do Twitch. I've been doing a Twitch stream for the last 6 months of building an entire TTRPG from scratch using the community's input. So I just go and stream and I've been building it, and it's almost done as a written draft. So that's awesome. I also do start playing games for anybody that wants to join my urban adventures. I've done Urban Curse of Strahd, where you take Death House and a townhouse, and Ravenloft is just a high-rise building. I also have Phandelver and Below, Guns and Goblins, if you want to experience, well, Phandelver, but with guns, cars, and other things like that. I make everything urban, anime, and then some. So you can do all that stuff. And most importantly, I work as a co-founder, creator, and collaborator with Beth the Bard on TTRPG University, as we're getting another launch going on helping people learn how to be a better game master, role player, make their own adventure, and expand their ability within the industry and community with confidence and comprehension of information, because it's hard out here and we could do it together.
Awesome. Beth.
I never know how to follow everybody like being so eloquent. Hello, I'm Beth the Bard. I am a professional game master, obviously, and also a professional web designer, writer, artist, etc. You can find me everywhere at It's Beth the Bard. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitch. I do not bother with the Twitter site anymore. You can check out my book, She is the Ancient. Just go to sheistheancient.com. It'll take you right to the DMs Guild page for it. And then with Jay, I do TTRPG University. We got some really cool collaborations coming up with super cool people in the community. And we also brought on a couple more team members. So we're getting like new stuff going for it. We've got a weekly event started in our Discord and everything. Anyways, yeah, that's what's going on there. That's what I do.
Amazing. So these are the DMs for D&D at the Castle this summer at Mohican Castle on the borders of the Mohican Forest, where we'll be having a D&D in a Castle event this August 11th to 15th. Beth the Bard will be running her Curse of Strahd gender bent adventure as hardcore mode. So if that interests you, you can look at dndinacastle.com/hardcore. And Beth and B-Dave will also be staying for an extra round after that, August 18th to 22nd. So you have the chance to play with them, even if their tables are full in this round. Xander, you had your hand up. You want to say something?
Real quick, I saw in the chat someone was confused about the term gender bent, and so that just means that the gender of the characters are swapped.
It's more feminist and stuff like that. Like it's, yeah.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up and for clarifying that. My internet just cut in and out a little bit, so I'm thinking that got answered.
I think we froze for a
Yes.
second. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
We froze for a second. That's great. There is one last question for hardcore mode. How are the game sessions broke up? All the sessions are 4-hour sessions. Hardcore mode runs 3 sessions a day. The others run 2 sessions a day. So that's how that's broken up. Beth, you wanted to answer that question as well?
I will say, yeah, for my hardcore mode and stuff, like there's a general structure to, like, 4-hour sessions, this and that. I work it out with my players though, kind of, if we're like, we need to do 3 hours and then a big, like, a break. Like we could do 3-hour sessions, 2-hour sessions. I like to do 4+, but it really depends on what the table needs. That is all I want to say there.
That's right. Yeah, so there's a lot of consultation that goes on in all the tables in terms of, do you want to play late or do you want to get up early and finish early? So, and which of the side quests that are available at the castle do you really want to get in on? So make sure we don't book ourselves over those, because there are other activities that happen there. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the DMs for being here. Thank you to the people who've chimed in with their questions and joined in as an audience. If you want to find out more about these lovely people, you can go to dndinacastle.com/dungeon-masters. And you can read all about them, or just go there and click the Dungeon Masters link to read all about them. And if you click events, you can scroll down and find the August events where these lovely people are going to be there offering games for you to play in at D&D in a Castle. So that is us. Thank you so much for being here, and may the dice always roll high.